All right, welcome to another episode of K-Drama Reviews, your one-stop shop for all things K-Drama, recapping K-Dramas, news about K-Dramas, everything about K-Dramas. My name is Matt.
I'm Rebecca.
And we are covering episode 3 of Vincenzo. Spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about episode 3 of Vincenzo, which we just finished, and we are kind of devastated. What did you think? First impressions?
I'm shocked.
Shocked. She says she's shocked. So recap, the episode starts where episode 2 left off, which was the Sicilian cultural party, I guess, celebration they were having in the plaza of Vincenzo's building. Mm-hmm. And then obviously the gangsters are upset because they don't get to demolish the building. They can't demolish the building because there are very important people in the plaza, and so they give up, they leave, and it seems like a very temporary but good first victory for the tenants. This next scene, we see lawyer Hong Chae-young getting in trouble because her boss finally finds out that the researcher's missing, and she didn't tell them. So she has to cover her tracks. She doubles down. She is going to try her best to find the researcher. So that's what that scene was. And then cutscene back to the tenants. They're super excited at what happened, right? So they celebrate their little victories. They say good things about Vincenzo, who is actually doing more work, right? Cutscene to him, and then back to the Wusang law firm where that prosecutor is dancing like a crazy woman inside the office, and apparently she doesn't care, because later on in the show we're gonna see lawyer Hong Chae-young, kind of making fun of her, but we'll get to that scene in a second. Some comedic relief in the form of
this chef.
The latest interaction between Vincenzo and the fake Italian chef. As he's leaving the restaurant, Agent An, who is going to go undercover and become the disciple of the fake Italian chef, right?
He praises his cooking.
And so he convinces fake Italian chef that he's going to become his disciple. And then back to the cutscene.
Okay, so I did think, when he mentions, he finds out that's a narcotic, like whatever drug, he acts surprised, and I was like, oh, he's lying. I did have that thought crossed my mind.
Who, the lawyer Hong?
Yes. And later it's revealed that he was lying to him. I was like, why would he lie? He pretended like that was the first time he was hearing this.
Some more comedic relief where Vincenzo is trying to put down electric mats to keep the monastery. Do they call it a monastery? What is it? Temple, sorry. Buddhist temple.
Because it's in the bottom floor, it's probably cold.
He wants to keep them comfortable, but I mean, he has some ulterior motives, right? He wants to try to move that monk from that spot. And he won't even move, right? He'll just
lifted his butt cheek.
Yeah. While Agent An is spying on him. So Agent An sees Vincenzo doing all these good things, right? Even later on, teaching these punk kids a lesson and trying to reel in the restaurant owner's son, right? And Agent An sees all of this. Agent An sees the fact that Vincenzo's doing these good things, and why Vincenzo...
Maybe he is a good guy. Maybe all the killings that he's done in Italy was just for good.
For a good reason? Yeah. In the next scene, we see... The team leader from Babel Group come back and say, you can't threaten me. And Vincenzo begins to hatch his plan on how to exactly threaten this guy, which eventually turns out to be successful. But we'll get to that scene in a second. Next scene, we see Hong Chae-young's terrible acting skills that do not convince this pharmacist to reveal whether or not he has talked to the missing researcher. There's a little bit of an interaction between her and her intern, but ultimately what ends up happening is the discussion between Hong Yu-chan and that missing researcher. That discussion is revealed, where the researcher tells him about the drug, that the drug is actually not a drug that helps people, it's a drug that addicts people. So in a way, it's a lot like
an opioid?
It's a lot like the fentanyl crisis in America, right? Basically, it's a big cover-up by the Babel Group, right? They're bribing the lawmakers to pass this or to allow this drug to go on sale. They're purposely making it super addictive so people get addicted to it so they can sell more of that drug.
That guy wants protection, but he can't give that because this guy doesn't have any money.
Yeah, and he doesn't have any power or ability to protect people.
So yes, that researcher is requesting protection. He said, I won't testify unless you can assure protection of my family.
And so we see Hong Yu-chan on the roof, and he's kind of having a crisis of conscience because he wants to tell Vincenzo that he actually did know what you mentioned earlier, that he did know about the drug, right? When he faked like he didn't know about the drug.
And he's communicating with that researcher. And all that.
But all of a sudden he gets a phone call, which leads to the next cutscene where Hong Yun-chan is going to go meet with the one person he's defending as a public defender. And he brings Vincenzo along, which is kind of curious, right? We see Vincenzo at the court case of this lady. We see Vincenzo kind of outside the jail where she was being incarcerated. And now we see Vincenzo being dragged along with lawyer Hong to go see his client. And so there's a little bit of a, what do you call it? It's a curious situation. What's the relationship between Vincenzo and this lady? Obviously, Vincenzo's super uncomfortable about being there. She mentions the fact that he's really good looking, but he's super uncomfortable, and he's not uncomfortable because of the compliment, but there's something deeper, and so he leaves. In the next scene, we see in the Korean culture, in the workplace, it's called 회식. The workplace, all the team members of the workplace, they all go out and they drink. And they play games and they kind of decompress from all the hard work they've been doing. And we see the former prosecutor. She's clearly the boss, right? She's making everyone play games and stuff like that. And this is where we see Hong Cha-young's gutsy impression of her just kind of really insulting her, basically, to her face. Very clearly insulting her. Next scene, we see Vincenzo's plan coming to fruition. He digs up a lot of dirt on the Babel Group team leader, which immediately has him change his tune, right? And Vincenzo's requests are pretty simple. Don't demolish the building for 2 months. And then when that 2 months is over, I get to demolish the building and I get to pick the people who demolished the building, right? Those are his 2 requests. It's not even to sell the building back to him or anything like that.
I really wish people understood Korean.
Oh yeah, you were mentioning dirt while we were watching, right? So explain why. What's the nuance here in Korean?
Yeah, because Koreans, when you meet strangers or someone who's older than you use honorifics. And in this case, Vincenzo, I think he's straight off the bat. He just kind of talks to him like he's a friend. No honorific, nothing at all. And so does this guy, right?
Yeah, so they're basically insulting each other, right? They're not using honorifics at all. They're kind of...
They're talking like, and very,
Cut back to the decompression scene for the Wusang Law Group.
Don't fuck with me. That's what she's saying.
Yeah, grabs her by the scruff of the neck, basically.
Don't ever do that shit.
But Hong Cha-young, to her credit, she kind of takes it in stride.
Yeah.
She basically says,
"Game on, bitch.
I don't give a shit." Another comedic scene. We see the gangsters about to go and demolish the building, but they get a call from the Bible Group team leader. Do not touch that building for 2 months. So far, so good. Vincenzo's plan is working. Next scene, we see Hong Yu-chan and his daughter. They're meeting.
He tells her about the drugs.
And he's trying to kind of convince her to come to his side, right? Because she's still his daughter, and he can't believe that she's representing a company that is willing to kill people, bribe people to pass this drug just so that they can make money. But she won't budge. She doesn't buy it that there's some kind of conspiracy theory like that. And so she leaves while exchanging words with Vincenzo on the way out. And then we get to see the CEO of Babel Group. It's revealed in this episode that he's kind of, he doesn't have a lot of power, right? He's super young. There's clearly somebody above him.
That guy with the hockey stick.
Yeah. And here he gets an order, basically, to destroy the villa. And so that's what he does. While Vincenzo and Hong Yu-chan are drinking.
Talking about his mom.
Oh, yeah. This is actually a really important scene. When Vincenzo and Hong Yu-chan are talking, Hong Yu-chan kind of reveals to him that he already knew that lady is Vincenzo's mom. And we were kind of guessing that all along.
Yeah.
There's something there, right? Why would he be at that court case and all that? And lawyer Hong was also putting together the same puzzle pieces that we were. Clearly, Vincenzo has a past. We'll see what happens because
he looks very vulnerable.
And we'll see what happens because she has pancreatic cancer. She's dying. We'll see how this affects him in this show. Cut back to the villa. Somebody clearly wants to destroy the villa. Somebody comes in and cuts the gas line and blows the place up because they're trying to cover their tracks. They're trying to kill all the researchers who are quarantined in that building until this court case is over so that they can't testify against the company.
Sending a message to that one guy.
Right.
This is what's gonna happen to you.
Yeah. And so they're trying to send a message. They're trying to cover their tracks. Hong Yu-chan is obviously very, very disturbed at what's happening. We see another cutscene between the boss and the prosecutor where she's gonna finally get a chance to meet the CEO of the Babel Group and kind of size him up, which is kind of interesting because she's been pushing so hard to meet him. Next scene, we see Hong Yu-chan going to the villa to try to convince the police to not just close the case because he finds out that they've already closed the case. So there's clearly some manipulation going on behind the scenes. And he's doing his typical kind of like public defender kind of a spiel, trying to raise a ruckus. But then Vincenzo notices that there's other people watching Hong Yu-chan. And because Vincenzo knows how these cartels operate, he's starting to get concerned about the health and safety of his now friend, Lawyer Hong. Next scene, we see the prosecutor finally meeting the CEO of the Babel Group, but she picks up on something that her boss didn't pick up on. And it's that this guy is dumb. The CEO, he is dumb, right? He doesn't pick up on stuff very quickly. He's very picky with his food, which implies that he's very young. Oh, you didn't pick up on that?
I missed this thing too. I think I
Are you watching this drama?
No, I'm trying to shop online at the same time because I can multitask.
Next scene, Hong Yu-chan talking to his witness again, the researcher, the missing researcher. And now the missing researcher doesn't care about the protection. He just wants to talk because he knows, he can feel the, he feels the heat coming down on him. And he wants to get his story, his side of the story out before he dies, basically. Vincenzo comes back to give the tenants a new plan. His plan that he reveals to the tenants is, I'm going to buy a building over here. I'll move you guys into that building for free. Yeah. And the tenants, because they don't know what his motives are with they don't even know the gold is there. They just can't believe that he's being so generous. They don't know why he's doing it, but they decide to trust him. And so that's the plan for now as far as the tenants are concerned. Next scene is with the Wusang Law Group again, where the prosecutor tells Hong Chae-young that she's off the Babel case. We go back to the Chipuragi law firm where Lawyer Hong is in a great mood because he's really super happy that his witness is going to finally testify.
But I feel like he's gonna die.
Yeah, so not good things are going to happen. His daughter barges in, angry because she thinks that he pulled some strings to get her off the case. We see her in front of a convenience store, and it's pouring rain, and she's drinking. And who should show up but Vincenzo, who basically tells her, don't drink by yourself, come drink with your dad. You don't have to apologize for what you said earlier, because regret is the worst thing in life, basically, that can happen to you. And so she's thinking about it, whether or not she really wants to join them for a drink. Cutscene to the prosecutor, who...
It's a phone call, they said, and she tells them to take care of both of them.
Yeah. So it's very vague. Who's both of them, right? Who's both of them? Because later on, in the next couple scenes, we're going to see two people that get taken care of, right? So we see Vincenzo and Lawyer Hong drinking again. And while they're drinking, Lawyer Hong goes outside to smoke a cigarette. And while he's trying to smoke a cigarette, he's getting a phone call from his witness because people have come to finally kill him. Cutscene to the witness running away from his killers. He hides out in a boat. I don't know why he's hiding in a boat, but he does, because that's the only place I guess he can go to at this point. And he's desperately trying to call Lawyer Hong.
Just having a little moment.
And he misses his call. Vincenzo notices when the phone's ringing that the phone says RDU, which is the first three letters of that drug, RDU 90, that the Babel Group is trying to pass. And so he kind of starts guessing that that there's something that Lawyer Hong is hiding from him that he's not telling him. And so we see Lawyer Hong, somebody asks him for a cigarette. He gives him a cigarette happily, but it's just so that the guy asking for the cigarette can ID him. Vincenzo decides not to take the phone call. He's like, should I answer this? Should I not? But it's too late. That guy's dead. He gets murdered. Lawyer Hong comes back in. Vincenzo tells him that he missed the phone call, but hey, is there anything you're hiding from me? Lawyer Hong says, Vincenzo points out the fact that RDU, all the color leaves Lawyer Hong's face, takes the phone, calls, but of course, it's too late. Right? That guy's dead. And then what should happen but a truck runs through the building, and that's pretty much the end, right? Which kind of they had a very interesting discussion. We have to say this because I thought this was super interesting. One of the last things that they were talking about before the truck hit them was Lawyer Hong was telling Vincenzo in a really happy mood about how there's a saying about how demons can kill their demons, right? Or the devil. The way to beat a devil is through another devil. He asks Vincenzo whether or not he can be a monster, or he's the monster that can defeat the monster that is Babel Group. And I think that's foreshadowing of what's going to happen. Is Vincenzo's past going to catch up with him? Is he going to resort to his mafia ways to take care of business? What's going to happen in the future? But in any case, the two are lying on the floor because a truck basically hit them. And that's the whole thing that we were saying at the beginning of this recap, right? So shocking because we're trying to figure out whether or not Lawyer Hong is indeed alive or dead, because that was quite a lot of blood that was pooled up behind him or underneath him. And it's not uncommon, in Korean dramas to get rid of important people in the beginning if it serves a purpose. So we're gonna have to wait until episode 4 to see whether or not Lawyer Hong is dead. I mean, Mr. Cho survived it.
He's alive, yeah.
He survived it getting hit by a truck, right?
But he's not important. He barely comes out.
Yeah, and he was in this episode earlier too, and he looked fine, right? After getting hit by a truck, after being in the hospital in a neck brace and everything. But now he seemed fine. So who knows? He might be fine. We'll see. We'll see in episode 4. With that, thanks for listening. Hopefully we didn't spoil anything for you, and we're just trying to explain a lot of things not a lot of things, just some of the cultural things that happen, as well as kind of recap the show just for fun as well. So in any case, if you liked this episode, or if you think we did a good job and you liked what we're doing, please like and subscribe to our channel. It really helps us to grow this channel and review more dramas. If you want to hear or if you want us to recap other dramas, let us know in the comments. And if we have enough time and we don't have more kids, we will definitely watch as many dramas as we can, recap as many dramas as we can. So with that said, thanks for listening. We'll see you in the next episode.